Hello, my dear students. Welcome to the English YouTuber. In today's video, we're going to discuss the story A Living God, which is written by Lefcadio Hearn. This is a beautiful story about wisdom, the sense of community, sacrifice, and selflessness. This story reminds us that true divinity and heroism comes from selfless action, compassion, and moral courage. So, this is a video on the line by line explanation of the story, and towards the end, we will also discuss the themes. So, let's begin with the story. From immemorial time, so immemorial means from ancient times, the shores of Japan have been swept at irregular intervals of centuries by enormous tidal waves. Tidal waves caused by earthquakes or by submarine volcanic action. So, what is submarine volcanic action? It is like a volcanic action that happens underwater. These awful sudden risings of the sea are called by the Japanese tsunami. The last one recorded on the evening of June 17, 1896, when a wave nearly 200 miles long struck the northeastern province of Miyagi, Iwate, and Aomori, wrecking scores of towns and villages. So, scores means large or indefinite number. So, the tsunami was so destructive that it wreaked havoc on indefinite numbers of towns and villages, ruining whole districts and destroying nearly 30,000 human lives. The story of Hamaguchi Gohei is the story of a like calamity that happened long before the era of Meiji on another part of the Japanese coast. So, here, the author is mentioning a tsunami of June 17, 1896, a recent or a factual example of the destructive effect of a tsunami. And also, the author here wants to set the stage for the story of Hamaguchi Gohei, which is about a similar calamity that happened long ago. So, just to show the destructive nature of tsunami, the author has written a similar or a recent tsunami that took place. So I hope so much is clear. Let's move forward. He was an old man at the time of the occurrence that made him famous. He was the most influential resident of the village to which he belonged. So he was the most influential resident. He had been for many years its Murauza. So Murauza means the chief or the leader. So Mura means village and Osa means leader or chief. So Murauza means the headman. And he was not less liked than respected. So he was respected as well as liked by everybody. The people usually called him Oji-san, which means grandfather. But being the richest member of the community, he was sometimes officially referred to as the Choja. So what is Choja? Choja means a rich person, or it could also mean a virtuous and elderly person. He used to advise the smaller farmers about their interests, to arbitrate their disputes. Arbitrate means to judge or help to negotiate, to advance them money at need. So he also used to help them monetarily and to dispose of their rice for them on the best terms possible. So these are the various reasons why he was liked and respected by all. So these are the 3 points that you can write for the reason why he was liked and respected. Hamaguchi's big thatched farmhouse stood at the verge of a small plateau overlooking a bay. The plateau, mostly devoted to rice culture, was hemmed in on three sides by thickly wooded summits. From its outer verge, the land sloped down in a huge green concavity, means it was in a concave like shape, as if scooped out to the edge of the water. And the whole of this slope, some 3/4 of a mile long, was so terraced as to look, when viewed from the open sea, like an enormous flight of green steps divided in the center by a narrow white zigzag, a streak of mountain road. So here in this paragraph, they are giving the geographical description of that area, and which also shows why they were prone to being killed because of the tsunami. 90 thatched dwellings and a Shinto temple composing the village proper stood along the curve of the bay, and other houses climbed straggling up the slope for some distance on either side of the narrow road leading to the Choja's home. So the Choja's home was right on top. There were around 90 houses and a temple which stood along the curve, and there were other houses also climbing up the slope until Choja's home. One autumn evening, Hamaguchi Gohei was looking down from the balcony of his house at some preparation for a merrymaking in the village below. So the village was celebrating something. There had been a very fine rice crop, and the peasants were going to celebrate their harvest by a dance in the court of the Ujigami. The old man could see the festival banners, which is called Nobori, fluttering above the roofs of the solitary street. The string of paper lanterns festooned between bamboo poles. Festooned means decorated. The decorations of the shrine and the brightly colored gathering of the young people. So everyone were rejoicing, they were celebrating because the harvest was very good that year. He had nobody with him that evening but his little grandson, a lad of 10. So along with him, his grandson, who was 10 years old, was with him. All the others were busy preparing for the harvest festival. The rest of the household having gone early to the village, he would have accompanied them had he not been feeling less strong than usual. So we already know that Hamaguchi was an old man and he wasn't feeling robust. So he was feeling a little weak, and that is why he stayed back along with his grandson, and all the others were down in the village. The day had been oppressive. Oppressive means harsh, or it was brutal. And in spite of a rising breeze, there was still in the air that sort of heavy heat, which, according to the experience of the Japanese peasants, at certain seasons precedes an earthquake. So, precedes means comes before an earthquake. So, there was a heavy heat in the air, and many experienced Japanese peasants could say that this was the climate or the environment just before an earthquake. And presently, an earthquake came. It was not strong enough to frighten anybody. So, we all know that in Japan, they have frequent earthquakes. But Hamaguchi, who had felt hundreds of shock in his time, thought it was queer. So queer means something strange or odd. So why did he think that it was queer? Because it was a long, slow, spongy motion. So usually when they have an earthquake, it's a sudden tremble. But here he thought this was different. This was strange or odd because the tremor was long, slow, and had a spongy motion. And he had felt hundreds of shocks in his time, and this was different. Probably it was but the after tremor of some immense seismic action very far away. The house crackled and rocked gently several times, then all became still again. As quaking ceased means stopped, Hamaguchi's keen old eyes were anxiously turned towards the village. It often happens that the attention of a person gazing fixed at a particular spot or object is suddenly diverted by the sense of something not knowingly seen at all. So it was like some kind of an intuition or something. He had a feeling that this wasn't normal. By a mere vague feeling of the unfamiliar in that dim outer circle of unconscious perception which lies beyond the field of clear vision. So nothing was out of the blue, everything was still, it was back to normal. But Hamaguchi had a vague feeling in his unconscious perception that something was wrong. Thus, it chanced that Hamaguchi became aware of something unusual in the offing. What is offing? Offing is the distant part of the sea in view. He rose to his feet and looked at the sea. It had darkened quite suddenly, and it was acting strangely. It seemed to be moving against the wind. It was running away from the land, so the sea was going back. So if the question comes, what unusual sight did Hamaguchi see? Then you can write this part. Within a very little time, the whole village had noticed the phenomenon. Apparently, no one had felt the previous motion of the ground, but all were evidently astounded by the movement of the water. So, astounded means greatly surprised or shocked. So, what did the people do? They were running to the beach and even beyond the beach to watch it. So, the water had receded. So, not only were they standing in the beach, they were going towards the water because the water no longer was there, it was going back. No such ebb means receding, had been witnessed on that coast within the memory of the living man. So, this was a phenomenon that had never happened while he had lived. So, he was a very old man. So, until from his birth, he had never seen this phenomenon. Things never seen before were making apparition. Apparition means an appearance. Unfamiliar spaces of ribbed sand and reaches of weed hung rock were left bare, even as Hamaguchi gazed. And none of the people below appeared to guess what that monstrous ebb signified. So, since tsunami had never taken place for a really long time, everyone were oblivious to the fact that that was tsunami. That is why none of the people below appear to guess what that monstrous receding of water signified. Hamaguchi Gohei himself had never seen such a thing before, but he remembered things told to him in his childhood by his father's father. So, his paternal grandfather used to tell him stories, and he knew all the traditions of the coast. He understood what the sea was going to do. Perhaps he thought of the time needed to send a message to the village or to get the priest of the Buddhist temple on the hill to sound their big bell. But it would take very much longer to tell what he might have thought than it took him to think. He simply called to his grandson. So we all know that there was a Shinto temple there. So Hamaguchi realized that if he had to send a message to the village, or if he had to send a message to the priest of the Buddhist temple on the hill, to sound the big bell that something disastrous is going to happen, he knew that it would take a lot of time. So he started to think on his feet. So he realized that having to do all that would take a lot of time. So he started to think, which was quick. So thinking on one's feet means being able to think and react quickly and effectively to an unexpected situation. So that is what he did here. He started to think on his feet and think of a solution, how to warn the people as quickly as possible so that he could save their lives. So what did he do? He called his grandson. Tada, quickly, very quickly, light me a torch. So he told his grandson to light a torch and give him. Taimatsu or pine torches are kept in many coastal dwellings for use on stormy nights and also for use at certain Shinto festivals. So, these pine torches were readily available and it is kept in many coastal dwellings. Why? Because on stormy nights, when the visibility is low, they could use it. And also, it is used at certain Shinto festivals. So, what did the child do? The child kindled a torch at once, and the old man hurried with it to the fields. So, he didn't have any time to waste. He rushed to the fields where hundreds of rice stacks, representing most of his invested capital, stood awaiting transportation. So, as you know, they were celebrating the harvest festival because the harvest was abundant that year and his rice stacks that were there which represented most of his invested capital, so all his money was in those rice stacks. But what did he do? Approaching those nearest the verge of the slope, he began to apply the torch to them, hurrying from one to another as quickly as his aged limbs could carry him. So, within a blink of an eye, without hesitation, he immediately went and lighted all his money, his savings, everything were vested in those rice harvest, but he immediately torched them. The sun dried stalks caught like tinder. So, what does tinder mean? Thing that could be readily ignited. The strengthening sea breeze blew the blaze landward, and presently, rank behind rank, the stacks burst into flames, sending skyward columns of smoke that met and mingled into one enormously cloudy whirl. Tada, astonished and terrified, ran after his grandfather, crying, Oji-san, why? Oji-san, why? So the boy was petrified. First of all, he was shocked and he was terrified. Why is grandfather suddenly out of the blue just going and burning all the harvest? But Hamaguchi did not answer. He had no time to explain. He was thinking only of the 400 lives in peril, perilous danger. For a while, the child stared widely at the blazing rice, then burst into tears and ran back to the house, feeling sure that his grandfather had gone mad. So, why did he think his grandfather had gone mad? Because all of a sudden he was acting strange by lighting fire to the harvest. Hamaguchi went on firing stack after stack till he had reached the limit of his field. So he burned his entire rice stack. Then he threw down his torch and waited. The acolyte of the hill temple, so acolyte is the assistant to the priest, observing the blaze, set the big bell booming. So now the assistant priest had acted and he started ringing the bell, indicating danger. And the people responded to the double appeal. So not only was the rice field burning, but the bell was also booming. So people started responding to the double appeal. Hamaguchi wanted them hurrying in from the sands and over the beach and up from the village like a swarming of ants. So here the village people are compared to the swarming of ants. So here the author has used simile. And to his anxious eyes, scarcely faster, for the moments seemed terribly long to him. So he was very anxious. He wanted everyone to move really quickly, and he felt like everything was happening really slow. The sun was going down. The wrinkled bed of the bay and a vast, sallow, speckled expanse beyond it lay naked to the last orange glow, and still the sea was fleeing towards the horizon. So here sallow means very pale or yellowish. So it is called the wrinkled bed of the bay means the water had gone behind and now the sun was also about to set. Really, however, Hamaguchi did not have very long to wait before the first party of succor arrived. So succor means supporters during hard times. Score of agile young peasants. So we already discussed score means a large number of. Agile means very healthy, who can easily move about. So agile youth peasants who wanted to attack the fire at once. But the Choja, holding out both arms, stopped them. So they wanted to come and help him out and stop the fire or put out the fire. But he stopped them. Let it burn, lads, he commanded. Let it be. I want the whole Mura here. There is a great danger. Tahenda. So Tahenda means, oh no, it's terrible or it's serious. The whole village was coming, and Hamaguchi counted. All the young men and boys were soon on the spot, and not a few of the more active women and girls. Then came most of the older folks and mothers with babies at their backs, and even children. For children could help to pass water, and the elders, too feeble to keep up with the first rush, could be seen well on their way up the steep ascent. So everybody in the village were coming to help Hamaguchi because his rice field was on fire. This shows the sense of community among the people. So the agile youth came quickly, but also the small children came because they could help with carrying the buckets and passing the water. And even the elders who were too feeble to keep up with the first rush because they were old and weak, but they were also coming up the steep slope. The growing multitude, still knowing nothing, looked alternatively in sorrowful wonder at the flaming fields and at the impassive face of their Choja. Impassive means expressionless face because they were clueless. Because when someone loses their entire life savings or when their field is burning, people are usually very sad or anxious. But here he had no expression on his face. And the sun went down. Grandfather is mad. I'm afraid of him, sobbed Tada, in answer to a number of questions. He's mad. He set fire to the rice on purpose. I saw him do it. So he's saying that grandfather has gone senile. He has burnt his own rice fields. Who does that? So Hamaguchi is very calm and composed. He said, as for the rice, cried Hamaguchi, the child tells the truth. I set fire to the rice. Are all the people here? So he's still concerned about the people and their lives and is totally unconcerned about the burning rice field. So this shows that Hamaguchi has an altruistic nature. Altruistic means very selfless or benevolent, very kind and selfless. Kumicho and the heads of families looked about them. So Kumicho is the patriarch of the family and the heads of other families. They looked about them and down the hill and made reply. Are all here or very soon will be? We cannot understand this thing. So they were very clueless of what was happening. Kita, shouted the old man at the top of his voice, pointing to the open. Say now if I be mad. So you people are calling me mad. Now look at the open sea and say if I am mad. Through the twilight, eastward, all looked and saw at the edge of the dusky horizon a long, lean, dim line like the shadowing of a coast where no coast ever was. A line that thickened as they gazed, that broadened as a coastline broadens to the eyes of one approaching it, yet uncomparably more quickly, for that long darkness was the returning sea towards like a cliff and coursing more swiftly than the kite's flies. So now the receding water was coming back like a huge cliff and moving so swiftly than how kites fly. Tsunami, shrieked the people, and they all shrieks and all sounds and all power to hear sounds were annihilated by a nameless shock that was heavier than any thunder. So, annihilated means obliterated or wiped out. All their shrieks and sounds were wiped out by the shock that was heavier than any thunder as the colossal swell smote the shore with a weight that sent a shudder through the hills, and with a foam burst like a blazing of sheet lightning. So, smote is the past tense of smite. Smite means striking with a firm blow. So, the shore was smote by the colossal swell of water. Then, for an instant, nothing was visible but a storm of spray rushing up the slope like a cloud, and the people scattered back in panic from the mere menace of it. When they looked again, they saw a white horror of sea raving over the place of their homes. It drew back roaring and tearing out the bowels of the land as it went. Bowels means interior. Twice, thrice, 5 times the sea struck and ebbed, but each time with lesser surges. Then it returned to its ancient bed and stayed, still raging as after a typhoon. So the tsunami had destroyed their homes. On the plateau, for a time, there was no spoken word. So everyone were in shocked. All stared speechlessly at the desolation behind, the ghastliness of hurled rock and naked riven cliff. So, ghastliness means the unpleasantness, the bewilderment of scooped up deep sea wrack and shingle shot over the empty side of dwelling and temple. So, after the sea had gone back, they saw that there were hurled rocks everywhere. They could see the cliff that was violently torn down. They could see the marine vegetation that was left back, that is the debris that was left back after the tsunami, and the small pebbles were shot everywhere in the houses and in the temple. The village was not, the greater part of the fields were not. Even the terraces had ceased to exist. So there was no village anymore. The greater parts of the fields were also gone. And the terraces of the cliff that had also stopped to exist. And of all the homes that had been about the bay, there remained nothing recognizable except two straw roofs tossing madly in the offing. So nothing was left. The after terror of the death escaped, and the stupefaction of the general loss kept all lips dumb. So, stupefaction means the state of shock. So, everyone were quiet until the voice of Hamaguchi was heard again, observing gently, "That was why I set fire to the rice." So now he's telling, this is the reason. Now you understand why I had done such a thing. He, their Choja, now stood among them, almost as poor as the poorest, for his wealth was gone, but he had saved 400 lives by the sacrifice. Little Tada ran to him and caught his hand and asked forgiveness for having said naughty things. So the boy also realized his mistake. Whereupon the people woke up to the knowledge of why they were alive and began to wonder at the simple, unselfish foresight that had saved them. So he had saved 400 lives by the mere sacrifice. He sacrificed all his wealth, all his money, and had become extremely poor. But not once did he think about his earthly possessions. His aim was just to selflessly save lives. And the headmen prostrated themselves in the dust before Hamaguchi Gohei. So, what did they do? All the headmen, they threw themselves on the ground in reverence for Hamaguchi Gohei and the people after them. So, all the people were bowing down and throwing themselves in reverence to this person. Because for such an act, it takes moral courage, extreme compassion, and selflessness to do such a sacrifice. Then the old man wept a little, partly because he was happy, and partly because he was aged and weak and had been sorely tired because he was really old, but he had to run about and set fire. So he wept a little. He was happy that he could save lives, but he was also tired. "My house remains," he said, and as soon as he could find words, automatically caressing Tada's brown cheeks. "And there is room for many. Also, the temple on the hill stands, and there is shelter there for the others." So, immediately after that, also, he's thinking about how he can help the people further. And he says, "My home is open for most of you, and also the temple on the hill stands, so there is shelter for others." Then he led the way to his house, and the people cried and shouted. The period of distress was long because everything was destroyed. Because in those days, there were no means of quick communication between district and district, and the help needed had to be sent from far away. But when better times came, the people did not forget their debt to Hamaguchi Gohei. So many a times what happened? People forget the sacrifice and help that someone has done to them. But here, the people did not forget. When better times came, when things went back to normal, they did not forget the debt they had because they were alive because of him. They could not make him rich, nor would he have suffered them to do so. So, they could not make him rich and pay the debt of the entire fields of rice that he had sacrificed. And he also would not allow them to do that, even had it been possible. Moreover, gifts could never have sufficed. Suffice means been enough as an expression of their reverential feeling towards him. So, by giving him gifts or by giving him money, that couldn't justify the reverential feeling that they had towards him. For they believed that the ghost within him was divine. So, the soul within him they felt was divine. So they declared him a god and thereafter called him Hamaguchi Daimyojin, thinking they could give him no greater honor. So, what did they do? They called him the Great Shining or the Apparent Deity and honored him with the title of the Great Protector Spirit or the Savior, because they think that that is the greatest honor that they can give someone, is calling him the apparent God, the deity. And truly, no greater honor in any country could be given to a mortal man. That is, they're comparing him to God. And when they rebuilt the village, they built a temple to the spirit of him and fixed above the front of it a tablet bearing his name in Chinese text of gold. And they worshipped him there with prayer and with offerings. How he felt about it, I cannot say. I know only that he continued to live in his old thatched home upon the hill with his children and his children's children, just as humanly and simply as before, while his soul was being worshipped in the shrine below. So, that honor did not get to his head. He still lived as simply as as a simple person. So, this shows that true divinity comes from such selfless action. 100 years and more has been dead. But his temple, they tell me, still stands, and the people still pray to the ghost of the good old farmer to help them in times of fear or trouble. I asked a Japanese philosopher and friend to explain to me how the peasants could rationally imagine the spirit of Hamaguchi in one place while his living body was in another. So he was still living, and while he was living up in the house, his spirit was being worshipped below. So how was it? And I also inquired whether it was only one of his souls which they had worshipped during his life, and whether they imagined that particular soul to have detached itself from the rest to receive homage. So the author's question was, when he was living, he had a soul. Then how could they worship a soul that was down in the temple? So he says, the peasants, my friend answered, think of the mind or the spirit of a person as something which even during life can be in many places at the same instant. Such an idea is, of course, quite different from Western ideas about the soul. So, in Western culture, they think there is only one soul, and as people die, the soul goes. But in Japanese culture, they believe that even when the person is alive, the spirit of the person can be in many places at the same time. Any more rational? I mischievously asked. Well, he responded with a Buddhist smile, if we accept the doctrines of the unity of all mind, the idea of the Japanese peasants would appear to contain at least some adumbration of truth. Adumbration means outline of truth. I could not say so much for your Western notions about the soul. So, what he's trying to say is, in Japanese culture, they believe that all minds are interconnected, and they give emphasis on group harmony, empathy, communal rituals, and revealing unity, even if it is expressed uniquely. So, the Japanese culture embodies shared consciousness through collective action and shared experience, which bridges the gap between an individual and the universal mind. So, the story wants to give us a message that Hamaguchi's true divinity comes from his choice to sacrifice for others, making him a god not through supernatural powers, but through love and through responsibility. If you remember, the villagers were awestruck by his selfless foresight and sacrifice. What did they do? They all prostrated before him when they came to know about his act that was just godlike, because it isn't common to see someone who has such compassion, and that is why they elevated him to the status of the living God. Let's look at the themes of the story. The first is selflessness, that is the pretty apparent one. The act of burning his rich, flourishing field to save the lives of numerous villagers demonstrated moral courage, compassion, and altruistic nature of Hamaguchi Gohei. Even when the time was difficult, it makes it an ultimate heroic and divine act. The second is true divinity. The story shows that true divinity is in being compassionate, wise, and in doing actions that benefit others, rather than in ceremonies and in idols. This is exemplified by Hamaguchi's sacrifice. The next is wisdom and foresight. His ability to foresee the tsunami, act decisively and imminently. So he thought on his feet and immediately acted. He did not waste time to even talk to his grandson or find any other means that was slow. Showcases his wisdom and compassionate action. And the last is human resilience. So the story shows the destructive forces of nature and how humanity can cope with it through unity and courage. Because we all have to unite, only then can we cope with such destructive forces of nature. And we are done with the story. I hope you found this video helpful. Please share it among your friends. Study well and God bless.